Great rewards don't wait, so why should you? Through the Invigor Book and Buy Grower program, you could earn a $30 per bag rebate when you book all of your Invigor hybrid canola by November 14th. Talk to your retailer. Terms and conditions apply.
Spoke of the cattle markets, and when we do that, we of course talk to the one, the only, Anne Wasko of the Gateway Livestock Exchange for this week's beef market update. Anne, how are we doing?
I'm good, and there is nowhere else you want to be than in the beef market right now. It is absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. It's mind bending. It's really made a lot of, for a lot of us that follow this very closely, it continues to present, I guess, push the limits of what we expected to happen or what was possible of happening. Mm-hmm. Give us the price update here. Where are we in the U.S.? Then we'll flow our way to Canada.
Don't ever say never, because every time we think, oh, well, we're getting to a certain point on the calendar where highs should be in, here we are at the end of the August making new highs in both the U.S. and Canada. So in the South, Texas, Kansas, 1 to 2 higher is what we're calling the trade right now, 241 to 242. And in the North, pretty quiet still, but mostly looking steady at around that 245. And just again, business is, so we're going to have a higher weekly average again this week. The cutout, that beef market, coming into this long weekend for Labor Day in both countries, closed higher again last night, 414.40. Now that's $6.50 higher than last week. Last week saw a big jump as well. So there's obviously been great action and buying activity heading into the long weekend. The select is back about 28.50, and it's kind of been in that range for a bit. And, it hasn't just been one item that's driven this cutout higher. We've got strength in the rib and the chuck primals leading to this, as well as the lean trim, that hamburger market that we talked so much about. So we're getting support from everywhere as we head into Labor Day. Now, again, if I'm a betting woman or a market analyst, after Labor Day, the cutout tends to take a bit of a breather. So I'm going to lean there. But I said that a month ago, too. And it's proved wrong. So anyways, from a seasonal perspective, we should see one of the things with the stronger cutout, we've seen packer margins improve. So kill's been bigger this week heading into the long weekend. And that often is kind of a signal for, maybe a break in prices, but we'll see. The other U.S. news I just wanted to touch on was last week, U.S. cattle on feed report for August the 1st. 2% fewer cattle on feed than a year ago. Both placements and marketings were down 6%. So that's kind of where we see really a difference regionally, with that southern border still closed for Mexican feeder imports. The big declines in on-feed numbers are happening in those southern states, Texas, Oklahoma. And in the northern states, Nebraska and whatnot, we're seeing on-feed numbers increase. So really a regional difference going on, but nationally down 2%. So crazy times.
Yeah. And I guess when we look at a big part of this is the supply questions. And in Canada, I guess we are seeing pockets where we're seeing a retention of heifers, but it's not exactly like broad in nature. It's if you pick on certain spots, you're going to see some positive signs, but it's not that case broadly across the country.
No, I don't think so. And first of all, from a timing perspective here, we did get, sorry, Shaun, before we talk about the July 1 inventory report, because we had new highs in Canada for prices too, I do want to mention this before we move on to the report. So in Alberta, we saw fed cattle prices up again this week, 5 to 10 higher dressed than last week. 510 to 520 delivered is the number you're looking at. And Ontario also jumped $8 dressed. They're at $5.35 delivered dress. So all those prices are new highs, like the U.S. So anyways, just finish up on that. But you're right. We did get a StatsCan released the July 1 Canadian cattle inventory report. You recall a month ago we talked about the U.S. report for July 1 in as far as their summer inventory report. And we did see some of those signs of that early heifer retention. This is July. The bulls are out with the heifers. We'll see what happens after preg check and and decisions are made this fall. But certainly the indication that more heifers were out to be bred. Overall, the national cattle herd in Canada was up 1%, 11.9 million head. Beef cows nationally were no change from last year at all, 3.46 million head. The beef heifer replacement number is the one we're talking about. It was up 2% from last year. So again, minute, especially when you're talking Canadian numbers. That's not a big number jump, but it is indicating something. Across the country, it was interesting. Generally speaking, not a lot of change. Alberta beef cows were the same as last year, 1.52 million. In Saskatchewan, up 1%, 989,000 head. Manitoba was up 1%, 377,000 head of beef cows. And BC was up 3% at 198,000. Ontario also up 1% at 226,000 head of beef cows. So flat to slight increases. And again, with Alberta being the biggest province with beef cow numbers and not changing, obviously that kind of drove that national number.
Yeah, and what some people say, well, isn't there incentive right now for people to retain heifers? Yes, but there's also a huge incentive to not and to sell because the money is so good right now.
Yeah, money and weather, right? I mean, I think when we talked about this with the U.S. report, Shaun, is the western third of the U.S. still very dry, drought conditions. You can say the same thing in Canada in terms of pockets where stories are really good in terms of moisture and price, as you say. But other areas, if you're looking at a drought and you've been looking at a drought for several years, you're not going to be in that frame of mind to retain heifers. So it's really going to be mixed. And I think that's supporting probably a pretty slow rebuild in both countries would be where I put my money right now.
Well, I think it's a safe bet. But mind you, this cattle market continues to present us with things we didn't think was going to happen. So it's really, I'll tell you, it's the placement decision this fall for a lot of feed yards that is going to give a lot of feed yards real stomach aches, maybe a bit of relief on the feed cost side. I don't know about the Canadian dollar, though. It's, there's weakness in that U.S. dollar, so that's not good for the Canadian dollar. So there's some real stressful days of we got your calculator out and pounding it out and, oh, no, that can't be right. Got to do it again. You know what I mean? It's going to be, it's stressful days here from just trying to manage the risk at the feed yard level.
Yeah. And just the, placing at a loss, which is, that's going to be the storyline, betting on the come of the market. I mean, those are riskful times, especially at these dollars.
Yeah. And that's the point is right when is placing at a loss and how far we have come to the upside to require a further, higher highs. That's where it gets I think it's weighing on people trying to sort out what should I be doing. But I do have this whole pit of silage. I know I got to feed it out. Like it's the same old, when we were way lower in prices, we're making up the same arguments, right? I got a pit, I got a whole bunch of barley and corn bought. I got a pit full of silage. Got to convert it into cash. Let's go.
Yeah. And they need more money to do it.
And need more money to do it. That's actually I think it's a big issue in the sector across Canada and the United States. Next week I'm going to be in Nebraska with the ag bankers at their annual meeting, and I'm sure there's a lot of feed yards coming to that group saying, "Hey, I need more money. These feeder cattle are very expensive."
Yes, across the board. So good luck with that meeting, by the way.
Well, we're going to have fun. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely there's challenges on the cropping side, some of those loans for sure, but there's also opportunity we were just talking about on the cattle side. So it's kind of depending on what your book looks like, you're probably going to have a frown or a smile. Well, you'll be able to tell right away as you walk through the room, I bet.
Right. Demographics, where you are, the whole piece, whether you're a new producer coming into the bank or a season one. So there's going to be lots of variety, I suspect you're going to hear.
Hey, great stuff. Hey, Anne, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Okay, thanks. You too, Shaun.